Okay, today we're going to learn the types of cells that there are. There are two types. We can basically divide the living organisms into two types, whether they have simple cells or whether they have complex cells. The simple cell organisms are going to be named or called prokaryotes. And the complex cells, which therefore produce complex organisms, are going to be called eukaryotes. So what's the main difference between the two? Main difference, and if you can see this, it looks a little bit smaller than this, is these cells are way simpler than these ones. So to begin with this type, what organisms will have this type of cell normally are going to be, well, bacteria. And there are two main groups of bacteria, which are Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Main characteristics: this cell has a cell wall which is rigid, and it has a cell membrane inside of that cell wall. Some of them could have a flagellum that would help them, this type of cells, move. And inside of it, you're going to have the cytoplasm, and you're going to have a single strand chromosome. You're going to have also these tiny units called ribosomes, which are the ones responsible to build up proteins within this cell. No complicated organelles inside, none of that. They're kind of simple, and as I said before, normally they're smaller. If we jump to this type of cell, eukaryotes, which organisms have this type of cell? We have fungi, animals, plants, and protists. So what will be the main features of this cell? It has a cell membrane. It has a cell wall if it's a plant. So the one I'm going to illustrate over here is going to be the animal cell, just the basic features of it. So one of the huge differences between this one and this one will be the fact that this one has a nucleus. And the nucleus has pores in it that allow the genetic material to come out of it. Inside of the nucleus, you have a nucleolus, which is a denser region inside of the nucleus. And the most important thing, that the actual DNA or hereditary information is enclosed inside of it. You normally have it as chromatin, and the chromatin turns into different chromosomes when it's time for the cell to split. Then you have the endoplasmic reticulum, which could have ribosomes attached to it. So we call it rough endoplasmic reticulum. Or it could be smooth without it, without these tiny ribosomes. We also see important structures called mitochondria, which are the responsible ones for respiration. We could also have lysosomes, which are in charge of recycling stuff inside of the cell, ribosomes in the cytoplasm as well, What is the cytoplasm? We have it on both cells, and the cytoplasm is this jelly-like substance where all of the other organelles or parts of the cell are distributed. Oh, and finally the Golgi apparatus. As I said, I'm talking about general structures within the cell, not all of them, just the basics. And the Golgi apparatus, as well as the endoplasmic reticulum and the ribosomes, all of them are involved in producing or changing the structure of different proteins that the cell is going to use for all its well-functioning. So that would be the main features. Obviously, there are some exceptions to what I've taught, but these are like the main differences and the important things that we have for both of the cells. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about the cytoskeleton of the cell, and one of the features of that one of the types of cytoskeleton would be the centrioles of the cell. So within each eukaryotic cell, there are these cylindrical structures that are in charge of basically are involved in the cellular division, and they are really important. So when it is time for the cell to divide, these structures are going to be central during that process. They're going to be in charge of making the DNA separate at the time of cellular division. So another important feature that I didn't mention about the nucleus was the nuclear membrane. So there is a membrane that encloses the nucleus and all of it that's inside of it. The two types of genetic information that you're going to find within the cell are going to be DNA and RNA. And RNA is the one that is going to take the genetic information from the nucleus to the outside, to ribosomes, so they can build up the proteins. That would be it.